Far out. Okay, here we are, fellas, on MetaMinds podcast episode 6.
Yes.
Here we sit with my friend of quite a few years now, Alex Tarry. How you going today, man?
Good, and yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Never been on a podcast before, have you?
Nah,
Yeah.
just sitting here with everyone looking at me.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
fresh.
Good stuff. Well, that's how we
Fresh
like it.
first guest
We
as well.
want people to be intimidated by it,
first
you know what
guest.
I mean?
Whoa.
So,
Yeah.
success.
Yep.
Yeah, with the right people.
So the reason we've invited Alex on is because he is, are you 23 or 24?
24.
24. And in the last 2 years, he built his house out of, nothing. He just built it, you know, like he didn't have any experience in building prior to that. He just decided to build a house. And he's a very wise young man for his age. He's had quite a diverse life so far. Just last year, I spent a few months with him in Canada, living in a garage with him, #Garage Life. So we went to quite a few music festivals, including Shambhala, which is quite a huge music festival and was an amazing experience for myself, and I hope both Alex as well. But he was mostly just guiding me around.
Leading the
little
dog.
dog. Yeah, that's just, so I suppose we'll kick it off with a hard question for you. So you've lived a pretty diverse life so far, and you're very wise for your age. I would say you've lived like a more diverse life than a lot of people our age. What kind of challenges have you faced in the last kind of couple of years, and how have you overcome them, Alex?
Well, firstly, thank you for the kind introduction.
Thank
you. Where to start with that one?
Yeah.
Lots of things. Take it day by day. Like a huge one is just enjoying, you got to set goals. We're made to set goals. That's why like gaming and stuff is so addictive, because it's all just like, yes, I got my little goal. But as good as it is setting goals, it's like just try and enjoy the process rather than focusing too much on the end. Because even when I was building the house, I was focusing so much on my holiday. The holiday that I went over to Whistler with Eamon for a while is like I was focusing so much on that you just get overrun, or you try to just like numb, or like you just try not to think about what you're doing on the day. And that's where, especially with me building the house, it was like it got to this point where you just get like overwhelmed. You virtually have like a little breakdown to yourself. And that's where for me with building a house is I got a whiteboard, and it was just every day, and I might do a day ahead, but it would like you write out just what you need to do that day. That's all you need to do. You just shut off your phone and stuff, and and as long as you can just scratch out those dot points, you're getting like fulfilled every time you get the dot point, because you're like, yes, that's done, and that's done. And you take it day by day, and that's all you can do. But if you're trying to just like overload yourself with like, where am I going in 4 months? What am I doing here? How, I've got to go out this weekend. It's like, focus on you and just do one step at a time.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you're one of the men that told me.
Little goals.
Yeah. It's
Little-
like they enjoy it's the process that's like the fun of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
No, 100% agree with that. Yeah.
So hard to forget that though, I suppose.
It's true. Like my friend he's an civil engineer doing like the Sunshine Coast motorway upgrade up north, and he's about to get offered like...
Just make sure don't tap the table there, because
Yeah.
he will. It's very sensitive microphone. Sorry, continue.
He's about to get offered way more money and so forth, but he wants to go traveling, and so he is cutting it off. But then he found the same, where he was focusing so much on like what he was going to do with his holiday that he was like really feeling down about every day at work, because it's like, oh, I'm not on holiday. I'm not on holiday. And it's like, no, you got to wake up and do the things that make you feel good every day. And if you want to, like a huge one that like Mastery by Robert Greene's book, and they were saying like, if you look at someone, if this is where you want to be in 5 years, which I think at our age, you should set a little bit shorter goals than 5 years.
Especially given the climate of our society.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
But even if it's like you set that goal for 5 years, instead of thinking like just looking at that goal, you're like, the mastery one was like, what habits is that person learning now to slowly get in better? Is that like, for me, meditating, even if it's only 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, just like makes you feel what you're feeling a lot more, makes you more like conscious of what you're feeling, and not just like going through and just like focusing 10 minutes ahead and never being like present with yourself. It's just like learning all these little habits. How hard is it to try and get up before you need to and like go do half an hour of stretching or go for a walk?
I'm struggling with that one right now. I'll say
Oh
that.
man, like you look at all the like the I Love Hip Hop, but Nas and all these people, like even in their verses, they like after my morning walk, and it's like going out and just having not a single distraction around you and just walking in the silence or meditating or yoga or go for a run or whatever. It's just like you start the day and it's 45 minutes earlier, but you just feel fantastic. And you're like, okay,
Getting in touch with yourself.
rather than like getting to work or getting wherever you need to be and you're still kind of like, you're still in this like hazy,
Yeah.
you're not up yet.
Super easy to do. And then relying on caffeine and different nootropics and stuff to get you into that point where you kind of need to be, but really if you can do it naturally through breath and actually connecting with your body, then you need
Breath,
to do that.
man.
Yeah.
Breath is where it's at.
I'm always learning more stuff.
You know, you're
breath,
like 4 years old and your parents are like, take a deep breath. You're like, shut up.
Yeah, mom, you don't know anything, mom.
And then you're like super stressed out and you just go like, you take like 2 or 3 like long, deep 5-10 second breaths. And you're like, I can do this. You're like, whoa, mum was right.
I'm hearing a lot more about
difference,
nose breathing recently, actually. And there's a whole guy that just like his whole thing is nose breathing, and like he's really pushing that because he's saying like your mouth is used for eating and like talking, like your nose is used for like breathing.
I had the same conversation with the yoga
no
instructor
way.
the other day.
There you go. Because it's like really good for your immune system.
Like
Obviously, if you're
genuinely,
breathing in through your mouth and you're taking in all these different particles and you know microbiome and stuff.
Yep.
But your nose is literally designed to kind of.
It
stop
is, and
that,
that's why we have the hairs to block off any sort of germs or anything getting through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like, I can't remember the names in yoga. It's like the Ujjayi or whatever, but like you can breathe through the front of your nose. But for me, it's like breathing down the back of your throat is like, that's the big one where you can take like so much more of a deep breath and then like go out and pushing your tummy out instead of your chest.
Yes, yeah, that's another
like
thing.
the big one
Yeah.
because it circulates more blood to your body as well. So it's like instead of, because everyone can breathe here.
Yes.
And it's like, especially when you're stressed,
Yeah. And even people that hyperventilate as well, they do that shallow breathing.
Yeah.
And it
it's
doesn't
like
allow
getting
you.
it and like holding that. It's the ice guy. What's his name?
Wim Hof.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
about to
yeah,
touch on
yeah.
that because I was
Same
telling
thing.
everyone at Shambhala on the dance floor to do the Wim Hof breathing, essentially.
Wim Hof.
And did you
Front
guys?
row,
Yeah. I'm forcing people to do it on the dance floor, and people are like, "Oh, that's weird. What are you talking about?" But whenever I'm back at camp, and I'm like, "This is what it's going to do, you guys. Listen to me. It feels like you're floating." And then like you see them like 3 people ahead of you, and they just turn around and I'm like, "Yeah, I told you. I told you." Especially just like in that experience, there's so much like happening, the music, and you know people around you and
Sensory
everything,
overload.
and just getting in touch with your breath in the middle of everything is like, really quite a phenomenal.
Yeah, being
experience.
still when you got so much going on around you. Just,
Yes. And that you don't have to be a music festival for that, you know, even if you're building a house or at your job or whatever, like you can still have a lot going on around you, you know, just actually taking a moment to stop and go, oh, that's right, I'm alive, I'm a human being, you know.
Yeah, it's a huge one. Is like, obviously, if you get, you know, going for the extremes, but if you get a slave and then you get someone like living down the road here, the slave obviously had a much, much, much harder time, but it doesn't mean that the person down here can't have a hard time.
Oh, yeah. Well, suffering is relative, right?
Yeah, that's what,
it.
yeah, it's like you can be in a worse state of mind there. Like what you guys are saying with the fulfilling jobs and stuff. It's like you can get someone who has run their own business for 15 years, is like making bank and hating their life, and you can just have like a factory worker that's really content. Like
That's it.
Yeah.
and like the purpose and like what you guys are saying, the meaning and purpose. It's like the job is one part, but if you're working a very menial job, but you're like a single male, especially if you're like getting into the more Middle Ages, you feel like you have, you know, your natural caveman stuff is to provide. It's like if you have a family that's like waiting for you or whatever is your main thing of purpose at that age, I suppose you're leaning more towards family, then the job doesn't always have to be that primary thing. Like if you time your life well and you enjoy every weekend with your kids, and if you have like a day where you go home early and pick the kids up, like that can be enough for you to be content and happy with where you are.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think at our age, you're always trying to see everything and do everything and go. And then like, you know, different point for everyone, but you start to get more like life just happens and I'm just going to like let it happen rather than be like, I have to go here and here and here. Yeah.
More caveman talk. I love
I
it.
love it.
Oh, yes. I guess talking about caveman, I'm just like there for it.
I kind of want to go back to a little point you made about setting goals for the 5 years, because I actually really clicked with that. I used to do a thing where I'd set goals way too far in advance, and I felt like it was almost overwhelming because you'd be thinking like years in advance, and it's just almost, it's something you can't actually hold on to or even see. It's not a tangible thing.
Yeah.
So I started to do a thing where I would, like every 6 months, I would have like a notebook and I'd just start writing down kind of what I wanted to do for the next couple of months or whatever, and I'd make it a little bit more manageable, which made it easier for me to, I guess, get on top of kind of thing. So you were saying you documented quite a lot at home. Do you have like a weekly documentation? Is it daily? How do you go about that?
Like what my dad says actually, but it's like it's not like the 5-year goal doesn't exist, but I'd prefer to call it the 5-year vague idea. Like, love it.
Yeah, I love that, yeah.
It's like you have a vague idea, and so that vague idea can change all the
Oh,
time.
yeah. And that's why it's so
like,
scary.
But it just gives you a direction. So then you're like, you know, your 6 months goal. For me, it's like I knew. So I started with I'm very lucky to get an opportunity through a friend's father to learn carpentry for a year and then build my own house. So that first year, it was like I work very hard Monday to Friday, and I just grinded, and I'd take my notebook to work because I wasn't an apprentice. So like, they don't want to teach me. They didn't ask for me to be working for them. So I had to sit there at Smoko and just like pester them to give me information and try and write down everything I'm learning. And so like through that 6 months, I was like, okay, you just got to make the best of like Monday to Friday because there's not much you can do on the weekends. Like enjoy them. And then once you start getting all the paperwork together, a huge one is like whatever your, what's the word? Desire is, whether it be like drinking or whatever. It's like trying to be aware of when you're doing it maybe for just like a temporary pleasure or whether you're doing it because you like can't be bothered to think or feel of what you should be thinking or feeling right now.
Definitely.
Escapism.
Yeah, escapism. Yeah.
That's so real.
Yeah. But it's like all of man, like there are some seriously messed up ways that people in third world countries get high on something,
People,
like with like human feces and all the but like crazy, crazy
maybe stuff
things.
I haven't heard about.
Yeah, like gnarly stuff. Where I'm not going to go into it's a bit gross,
Yeah.
but all just to get high, and it's like a huge part of psychology. Well, a huge thing I've read in psychology is like, what is this fascination of us? Like, it's not necessarily escaping. It can be escaping from your, what you're not enjoying, but just this fascination with trying to like explore your mind and like push out some sort of high.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like it's been documented that we've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years.
Right. Yeah,
Stoned ape theory.
Yeah. Terence McKenna. Have you heard about that?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. So I guess, a few weeks ago we went to a music event and we were kind of sitting on the grass there for about an hour and a half just talking about what do I do with my life, Alex? It was basically me asking him what to do with my life. But we were kind of talking and in more general terms about, what should the average kind of millennial like do with their lives. And I suppose, for the average person that doesn't really have an answer, like how did you find out what you wanted to do and what is it that you're doing that you
I think the biggest part for me was like accepting that I haven't got a clue. Like it's a huge one. Like you can go into societal pressures or parental pressures or school pressures or whatever, but it's like we just have through like countless sources or like things coming in, you always have this feeling like you need to have your mind together. And even you don't have to go very far in history before the life expectancy dropped. Like it doesn't have to be 40, but like 60 and 50. And so, 20 to 40 is like the full set middle of your life. But now, and a huge one I always thought is like, don't look at how long you've got, my friend the other day, 24, he was like, quarter century man, like we're getting old. I was like, we're not old. Like, and he's getting worried about like having his like business together. And I'm like, you've got 40 years of work left in you when you hit 25 in May. I was like, 40 years. It's like, and you're stressed about this. Don't get me wrong. There is the security of having a apprenticeship or a degree or whatever is that I was talking with my friend Aaron that you're going to meet on Sunday. We were talking about it's the tangibility of your improvements, which is like what it's very hard to, if you go travel and you go through Central America and Panama and you go over to Switzerland and all this stuff, you're going to gain a whole lot of experience in a lot of ways that, your friends at home or not all of them, but some of them might not have. But it's not necessarily tangible. Like you might have gained great interpersonal skills. You might have met people that could provide you opportunities in life. You could have worked in an array of jobs which have given you like managerial and different insights into different things. But there's no piece of paper that you can give an employer saying, I got cool interpersonal skills. Like,
I think it's valuable in a resume though.
It's very valuable.
But I get what you're saying.
But everyone who isn't going to put like I have large amounts of integrity and a great attitude towards work. Like,
I'm honest and trustworthy.
I really want this job at McDonald's. Please give it to me.
And so like the tangibility of that stuff is like a big one. But knowing how long you've got, and to me, for my personal take, it's like I'm going to have a much better idea of what I want to do. I say 30, but it's anywhere in that 28 to 32-ish region. And that's like my vague idea. Things change. But it's like, if I knew that if I went to university for 6 months and I did Bachelor of Human Services, and after 6 months I was just like, get me out of here. So I like worked hard and got 5s and 6s and deferred. I just haven't gone back because there's nothing that I've just worked carpentry for 2 years. Great insight into the trade industry. If I go back, electrician is like in Australia anyway, a very solid way to go. $90 an hour. You can work 6, 7, 8 months of the year, have 4 months off every year, enjoy it. But it's still, you basically, all you need is a drill and like cable, and you like a lot of the stuff is, and some pliers, like still very repetitive work. But that's a good one. Now I've done the trade industry for 2 years. I have nowhere near the insight of what someone who's done it my chippy my boss that's been doing it for 25 years. But I've had this, like, I did hospitality for say 5-7 years, like youth and then traveling. Now I've done trade. I'm going to go now. I've got offered a job in France, and I'm just going to go work in a ski chalet and hopefully meet some rich people that might give me some
And he
opportunities.
might take me as well.
Yes.
Maybe. I just have to be really nice to him.
But you and I were saying this at River Stage. It's like, I've looked down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, I could sell this house that I've just built, reinvest, build a much, much better designed house, because I was just a bull out of the gates, naive, like very known for acting before
As
thinking.
you are when you start doing something you don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I could reinvest, build a better one, make some solid coin out of that, then maybe like expand on that. Or one of my friends offered me a job in real estate. And I know that 24, you got 6 years. You could do 2 years of grinding, 2 years of midway, 2 years, you're kind of successful. I look down at it and I'm like, do I want to be 30, earning 6 figures? And I have, other than holidays, I've just been in Brisbane for the next 6 years. And what you were saying, it's like, you with like your business and stuff, is like, you've seen down there, and now it's the choice, like, do you want to pursue it, or do you want to just put it off and go do some other stuff for now? Because what I said to you was that whole, the more you work and the more you gain and the more degrees and jobs and promotions you get, the harder it is to leave because you've got more to lose. My friend did like a dual degree of accounting and business, and then he got a job in a firm and then a different firm, and now he's doing it. They're sponsoring him to do his chartered accountancy, and then he's been offered to like go up one more. And now that he's like worked so hard to get this far, it's not the wrong thing to do. Like, it's very good to be stable, and they might, I might be 40 and in the gutter, and he might be 40 on a yacht. Like, who knows? But it's just like he has like this, I've put 6 years into this. Like, it's a lot to like, and a lot of my friends have the idea that it's like, if they leave, it's just going to be gone. Like, they're never going to be able to come back to where they were. Like, I just don't personally agree on that. But
no.
But I still
like it's that stability, like you said.
Yeah,
it's the fact that they've worked for so long and they're worried, if I go and travel for a bit or something, then what does that mean? But
I think part of that is almost like you're sort of, getting on that ego. It's kind of you going like, you're just scared of your comfort zone. It's like you self-justify to yourself, like, I might lose this and I might lose this. It was like, as I said, you got 40 years of traveling, of working. So if you go traveling now for 6 months, a year, and I've said to a lot of my friends as well, I'm like, you don't always have to do what I did, where I just booked in for 2 years. You do like 6 months, and at the end of the 6 months, you go like, do I want to go somewhere else? Do I want to do another 6 months? And you just take it like 6 months at a time. Your 20s, what's our favorite 4 words?
Oh, mate, I'm about to ask you about it. Life begins at 30. I learned this from Alex Tarry after a lot of dank chats overseas. And I guess this is kind of where I wanted to go next with it, is that like a lot of what you're kind of alluding to here is that, like you have this, what was the saying before, you have this rough 5-year goal?
The 5-year vague idea.
5-year vague idea. I love it so much. Basically, like, it's good to have a bit of an idea of where you're going, but you don't have to have this solid, exact idea of who you are and who you're going to be, because everything changes on a day-to-day basis. And I love that. And I think that's really amazing advice, especially for, myself, in that, because, everyone's got all these, as we said, conditioning to be like, well, who are you going to be and what are you going to do and who are you going to marry and what are you, So it's awesome that you have this kind of 5-year vague idea with this understanding that things can change and you can take left and right turns. And I suppose like, coming through to it is the famous Alex Tarry saying is life begins at 30.
Yeah.
And can you just like expand on that? What does that mean?
At a charity dinner that I went to with my parents when I was 21, I'd just come back from traveling. It was kind of in this limbo of like, what do I want to do next? I was talking to like a very, very wealthy property developer, and he was telling me his story of how he figured out he was good at sales. So he said, as long as you just keep a product that you believe in, you just have to move the dollar value up and the wage will come with it. But then I was stressing out, well, not stressed, but like tipsy and like trying to go on this little rant that I tend to do. And he sort of was like, honestly, mate, just experience what you can for your 20s, and like life begins at 30. Like if you're getting into, and it's so individual, but if you're, as a general thing, if you're getting into your mid 30s and you still like have no idea what you're doing, then you might, I don't know, it's so individual. But for me, like what I like to live by at the moment is the 20 to 30 decade is just experience everything you can. So after I come back from traveling, which could be 6 months, a year, 2 years, then I'm going to probably try sales, because I worked in sales when I was younger, just retail sales, but like I was quite good at it. And I'm going to try, even though it's everything that I sort of detest as like a blanket statement. It's like that corporate sort of. It's like, well,
Depends what you're selling.
don't try until you judge it. Don't judge it till you try it. So it's like, I'm going to go. And you know, when I was building the house and I was stressing out, working like 70 hours a week, and like 4 weeks, you wouldn't go back to like Brisbane and see my friends. So it'd just be me on an island in a house. And then I'm talking to one of my best mates who works for Hutchinson Builders, like a massive building company. And he was like, I get the whole building your house thing, but he's like, it is also quite nice that, you know, I've got all this flexi time. I get overtime for every hour I work. He's like, I can put in the extra hours here and know that I can put that extra, you know, double time that I'm getting here, so I can put it into my flexi time and do this and organize all my trips. And he's got this whole structure. I'm a little bit more lateral and like, so that's why it's just come so individual. It's like, have you got a girlfriend? Because as soon as you add a woman, like I fell for, or have fallen in the period still of falling and falling out of.
Here comes the spice.
Of like the first time I've sort of delved into love, and like the whole thing for me was I was a very logic driven person, and it's the first time that like the heart has really ever come into my life. And you do like, so I have just the amount of like judgment that I used to have, like internal judgment when people would do all these like stupid things and you'd be like, well, why would you do that, bro? It's not that hard. And then like I just watch my actions and I'm like, what am I doing?
Like as soon as you're actually in that situation. But yeah, you can see it from the outside and be like, yeah, that's stupid, why would you have to do that? It's a logical thing, and you probably are in that moment. But as soon as you're deep in that thing, you don't realize until you take a step back and you're like, oh, I'm deep.
And you're like, oh, I mean, like, well, I shouldn't do that. And then like as you're saying it, your hand's like doing its own muscle memory. Like, how did that happen? It's so true. And then life begins at 30. Experience everything you can, and then you've like, when you get to 30, you've got a much more well-rounded idea of who you are. Who the hell knows what they're doing at 21? You've just finished school, you've still got like all these influences around me. I have like an amazing group of friends in Brisbane that I went to school with, but when I went to Whistler and lived there, like my friendship group was like 28, 30, 32, and now they're sort of their mid-30s, and like there's no better or worse between Brisbane or Whistler, but it's like the difference of like life experience they got in those 2 years, just mingling with people from all around the world at all different ages, and like how they've come to where they are and so forth, rather than just staying in the same place with the same people, going on the same weekend. And it's, you know, what you and I were saying the other day, it's like Brisbane will always be my home, and I know if I really want to excel quickly, like I'll come here and I can excel because I've got the help of my parents, which are just like an astronomical help. And you can always like, you know where everything is here, you can excel, you got contacts, but it's also like I sort of come back, and then even I'm moving back off the island now to Brisbane, and you kind of just go like, and we're back to like home. And I don't know, I get kind of claustrophobic with it personally. Man,
even in the like few months that I was over in Canada and hang out with that friends group as well, like the perspective I gained hanging out with a bunch of 30 plus year olds kind of thing. And again, like, we just, like, again, we're probably a little bit more experienced than the average 24, 25-year-old. And so we're very blessed in that way. But like listening to some of these even older people that probably have even more diverse life experience than the average 30-year-old or whatever, they're just like, oh, shut up, don't be silly, like, just, So I think you're right, is like, have a like diverse life experience, and then that's what will actually allow you to figure out what you do really value, and you can kind of pick and choose how to spend your time from there, I suppose.
The power of silence.
Yeah,
ooh,
100%,
nice.
man.
Yeah, I very much struggle with it, especially with people I'm comfortable with.
I think everyone does. Really.
Yeah. Well, no, because there's a lot of people that are just the quiet ones that sit in the corner of the room. And that's the whole thing, is like Lockie McGill, one of our friends, like until recently.
Oh, wow.
He was a very quiet dude, but then if you ever get into a conversation with him, the content he has, because he's sat in that room, and whilst I've been so involved in myself and I'm only listening to Jeff, because I'm not listening to Jeff, I'm waiting to talk, because one thing he said 20 seconds ago is now the only thing that's going around in my head to be like, I'm going to say this when he stops talking. And Lockie's just watching the whole thing. And you're like, the listeners.
100%, man. There was one thing that probably was the hardest thing for me to learn through the counseling, just silence in a room. So one thing that I noticed when I'm sitting with a client, I'll constantly, like you said, have like a question that had come up or something that had triggered me. And that question may be related to something within me, to do with my ego or something that's happened to me in the past. So I need to actually like suppress those thoughts and just be present, and having silence in between a conversation can actually allow that person to process, because some people do sit and think. Some people need the time to process. And if you're the kind of person that just goes, oh, so what about this? How do you feel about this? Just constantly like bombarding someone, you don't get a chance to think or even like respond.
It's the same in sales.
It's so powerful, man. Yeah. But it's hard to do. It is,
and that's where you can come back to the breath. Because for me, if I start to wait to talk, I think I naturally hold my breath a bit. And also when you talk, when someone finishes a statement, I think it's just inbuilt in me personally that I almost subconsciously think it's awkward to have a silence. And so
I think we all do. As millennials, our attention spans are so quick that it's like, I got to fill this void.
And it doesn't have to be that at all.
No,
But no,
someone talks and then like they finish, and instead of going boom, you're like wait, and then they have a second to think, and then they continue on their conversation, and you're like, it's actually...
It depends who you're with, though, as well. I find, because sometimes you are with people that like they have to fill that void. But if I'm hanging with one of you guys, I find that we can just kind of like have a conversation, then sit still, be still in the environment. If we're doing anything or if we're doing nothing, you know. So it's good to make sure you seek out those friends that you can actually have those experiences with. Because if you're with someone that's just talking in your ear the whole time, it's like, hey man, take a chill pill.
And then you get like you and me in a room, and it's like there's not a second of silence. Like 40 minutes straight.
Pretty much. It's mostly you.
At the other day when you're asking me like things, and I'm just like, and I've somehow within 20 seconds turned this into like, here are my problems.
No, but that's, you're just sharing your experience, I suppose. So.
No, I had something for a second there, but I forgot.
If you remember, bring it back. But so you mentioned you're going to live in France, and obviously this is, or France, however you want to say it.
France.
France, welcome to Australia. And this is obviously, you know, all involved in the Life Begins at 30 thing. You kind of want to have a very diverse life experience. But if, like, do you have any other kind of motivations behind, you know, moving overseas for a little bit to Europe, or?
Sort of, my main drive was what I was saying before, where I was like, I looked down the rabbit hole. Like, so when I've built this house on Russell Island, there isn't a huge demographic of people on the island. It's quite a retiree-based island and quite a like family-based island. So there isn't a huge lot of the, you know, early 20s, that sort of demographic. So I was like alone a lot. And one of the things which I say, which is funny, of doing like the two and a half years on the island and doing all the work and things, possibly not number one, but definitely top 3 things for me was like learning to be alone. As someone who was like, I had one older brother where we used to like play games in the same room. Then Whistler, I lived with there were 7 of us in a house, so 6 housemates. Then I went to Hamilton Island for 7 months, and you're basically in dorms, like they're bigger than dorms, but may as well be dorms. And then went back to Whistler, and, you know, I've gone back over and over, and it's like you have so many people around you. And then I went to Russell Island, and I would get home at 2:30 p.m. I had no internet. And when I was on Vodafone on Russell Island, there's no Vodafone towers. So even sending one Facebook message, I'd have to like wait and keep the phone unlocked for maybe 30 seconds just to let it send.
What a test.
And going from like, and when I went to Russell, I came straight back from a 3-month holiday in Whistler, not living there because I saved up in Hamilton Island. And I was just like, I got home at 2:15, and I would try and be asleep by 9:15, so 8 hours. And it'd get to like 3 o'clock, and I had the microwave clock. I swear I could watch the minutes. I was like, what do I do?
Like the hyperbolic time chamber and...
But that's a
super interesting point. Like, very valid. People can't even sit still with themselves nowadays.
And that's where the meditating thing, like... And I feel like people think if they commit to this does that mean we need to do anything?
We'll wrap it up.
I feel like with the meditation, people think they have to commit every day forever. And it's like, I'll go 2 weeks on, and then I'll miss a month. Then I'll have 2 days, and then I'll miss a few days. And it's like... If you can just do it when you can, sit down, when you get to that point in your afternoon, evening, and you're like not ready to cook dinner or something, and you just hit that point, rather than just like having a scroll or like whatever, just go sit on the floor for 10 minutes and figure out how hard it is to sit on the floor with your eyes closed and keep your back straight and put a timer on so you can't like open your eyes to look at the time and just see how long that 10 minutes feels. It is like gnarly. And when you do the meditation apps and stuff, and you'll be sitting there and it's like, just breathe. And a huge one's like, listen, like hear the birds. And I always try and do it in an open windowed room. And then you'll be like, what am I going to have for dinner? Oh, no. And you're like, no. And then you're like, okay. And it's so hard to just breathe. Just breathe, man.
But extremely important.
And once you...
Especially for millennials.
Yes.
And a very fantastic way to wrap up the podcast. Thank you very much for coming on as a very first guest, Alex.
Yes, thank you very much.
I think we touched on a few really important points there, actually.
That thing came back to me, but
maybe another podcast.
Another time. Another day, another dollar.
Thank you very much for watching MetaMinds Podcast Episode 6. And we'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.